Apologize for the inconvenience. Actually, here I'm having so much network issues. All right. Namaste and a very good evening to my respected guide and the admin of the philosophy family, Dr. Pramad Kumar Das, and my respected dignitaries and professors and all my dear friends present here today. I am Khia Roy. I am a research scholar from the University of North Bengal. Today, the title of my paper is The Concept of Detachment in the Ishopanishad. I'll begin with a chant of a Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Whenever we want to say something about the Upanishads, we remember the famous German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer saying, "In the whole world, there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life, and it will be the solace of my death." Today, I'll talk about the Isha Upanishad. The Isha Upanishad is a part of the Shukla Yajur Veda. It contains total 18 shlokas. Among them, we will mainly focus on the first sloka. Regarding the importance of the first sloka, Mahatma Gandhi said, "If all of Hinduism, with all of its texts and scriptures, would like to disappear, and only the first sloka of the Isha Upanishad remains, then all of Hinduism remains." This much is the importance of the first sloka of the Isha Upanishad. Now let us see what is in the very first sloka. The first sloka says, Ishavasyamitang sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma gridha kasya svidhanam. Here, in this very shloka, we find a beautiful amalgamation of the three yogas, Jnana Yoga, Bhukti Yoga, and Karma Yoga. And in the Karma Yoga, we find the concept of detachment in details. So let us come to the concept of detachment step by step. The shloka begins with a huge statement, that is, Isha Vasya Vidang Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyang Jagat. Jagat means this dynamic word. Yat Kincha Jagat means whatever is moving or whatever is constantly changing. Idang Sarvam, all this Isha-vasyam is covered by the same Lord. It is saying that the whole world is moving, is constantly changing, constantly evolving. But this whole world is nothing but the expression of one unchanging reality. Just like a river cannot flow without a fixed substratum, the whole world, the whole world in motion cannot exist without depending on one unchanging reality, that is Isha or the Supreme Lord. Isha or the Supreme Lord is the same principle which is the soul of the universe and manifests itself as the universe, as Tagore beautifully puts it in his beautiful song. সীমার মাঝে অসীম তুমি বাজাও আপন সুর আমার মধ্যে তোমার প্রকাশ তাই এত boundless. Within the bound, you play your tune. That is why your expression through me so astounds. Here we find a tinge of Bhakti Yoga if we give a close look, since only a real Bhakta can see the Lord in everything, like Bhakta Prahlad. Now, as we proceed to the next slokas, we see the Ishopanishad does not stop here. In response to the deepest quest of the human heart, that is, what is the position of me or I in the universe, the Ishopanishad claims beautifully, Yaha aso aso Saha aham asmi. I am he, the Purusha, the Supreme Lord, underlying everything. I am he. Swami Vivekananda beautifully puts it through an analogy between the waves and ocean. He shows us that as the waves are nothing but the ocean itself, in the similar way, you and I and we all are nothing but the Brahman itself in the reality. Next, we find a minute shift from the Jnana Yoga to the Karma Yoga as the Ishopanishad reads, Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha, that is, enjoy life through renunciation. Renunciation of what? Renunciation of our attachment or desire towards the results of an action. Now, one may ask that how is it possible to enjoy through renunciation or through detachment? We common people think that we'll become happy if I get this or if I get that. We think that I'll become happy when I'll become rich, or I'll become happy when my son or daughter will become a doctor or engineer, like that. But the Vedanta shows you are pure bliss by your own nature. You need not any instrument or medium to be happy. You are the Satchit Ananda Sarupa. So aham asmi. And since it is this Brahman, it is the very inner being of me who has become all this whole world is my family. And hence, in this sense, we can enjoy delight through the detachment or through the sacrifice of our small interests or our self-interests, just like a mother delights by sacrificing for her children, a lover delights by sacrificing for her beloved. Next, when we come to the second shloka, it is saying, Purvanniveha karmani jijivishet shatang samaha evam tvayi nanyatheta asti na karma lipyate nare. It is saying that we human beings cannot exist without performing action. So the mere renunciation of our worldly desires and attachment will not help. We have to keep on performing our duties with a detached mind. Now, we have to keep in our mind that a detached action does not mean an aimless action. As Swami Vivekananda beautifully puts its aim thus that Atma Mokshartham and Jagat Hitayacham. That is, the aim of every detached action is twofold. The first one is Atma Mokshartham. In order to explain it, we can take the help of a beautiful analogy cited by Sri Shankaracharya in his Bhashya. He says that when a sandalut is put into water for a long time, it creates a layer on it, which smells foul. Now, if we want to find out the inner fragrance of the sandalut, then what we have to do? We have to rub it. Similarly, it is saying us that it is due to ignorance. We have forgotten our real nature. If we want to find out our real nature, we have to keep on performing actions with detached mind. It is just like the rubbing of the sandalwood to find out its real fragrance, its inner fragrance, its real nature. And the second point, that is Jagat Hitayacham. To put it simply, we can say that the aim or the slogan of every Nishkama Karmi should be Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhaga Bhavit Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So these are the two main principles of the concept of detachment found in the Upanishad. And here I would like to conclude. Thank you so much. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, audible. Okay, thanks so much, Ms. Kherai, for the very clear and short paper on the concept of detachment in Ishopanishad. And you have At first, you have started with the view of Mahatma Gandhi and the first verse of Ishopanishad. You have tried to reflect the concept of detachment, and you have tried to analyze it. You have made a conceptual analysis of detachment in a connection with the Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. And you say that in order to do our action in a detached way, detached mind, and you have given very beautiful analogies given by Swami Vivekananda, Shankaracharya, and others. Very good paper, but it needs to be extended now. Thanks so much for your very beautiful paper, very short paper. Now over to Professor Dr. K. Omanan Rao to carry on the interactive session. Over to Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Maharana. Well, I should thank K.R. Roy for her very clear voice in spite of the network issues. Her voice is so good while reciting the verses. Maybe she is having a practice in music and all that. Maybe very clear, very nice when she's reciting the slokas. Very nicely done. Well, we have with us Dr. Kailash Das sir and Anup Rai sir. Well, I request Dr. Das to have his observations. Dr. Kailash Das.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Kailash Das sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Romis Roy, that you have very lucidly presented your paper, and we were really very glad to listen to your oration of the verses so nicely and clearly. And at the same time, you have told two things in Upanishadic observations about the Niskam Karma. Do you think that Upanishadic philosophy of this Niskam Karma, or what you said, detached action, is anything to do with the ethics or epistemology? Number one is epistemology, because we are saying ignorance is the cause of all our suffering and everything. So right knowledge should be there. We should have a Brahma Jnana. So this is epistemology. But if you say that we think Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, these are ethical doctrines that you have pointed out. So is it the philosophical undertone is ethical or epistemological? Basically, because we have given a lot of importance to knowledge. At the same time, I have said this. So what is the basis for which we can say that the Indian philosophical Upanishadic philosophy is more towards an ethical consideration? Though no formal ethics is being discussed, but there is an undertone of a great ethics in it. But at the same time, most of the philosophies are talking about liberation, and the liberation is in knowledge. So knowledge is given a lot of importance, or ethics is given a lot of importance. It is given importance according to you. This is my observation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, if I'm not wrong, you wanted to know that whether this concept of Nishkama Karma, as cited in the Upanishad, is connected with epistemology or not. Sir, could I understand correctly?
Yes, right.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for such beautiful questions, sir. And thought-provoking question, first of all. Sir, when I was discussing, I highlighted three main points. Those are Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Karma Yoga. In reality, when we practice it, we cannot make a watertight distinction between them in reality. What is said in the Jnana Yoga, I think it is not separate from epistemology, what we are trying to find in the epistemology. And the Nishkama Karma or the Karma Yoga that we are discussing right now, it is mainly coming in the ethics portion, and it is the right knowledge which leads us to an ethical or moral discourse, isn't it? So, sir, I think that obviously this Karma Yoga to some extent is dependent on this Jnana Yoga or epistemology. It is only when we have a right cognition of truth, then spontaneously the nishkama karma comes. We do not need to make any effort. And when we are not having, in the beginning, when we are not having a right cognition, we are on the way to achieve it, then we can practice it. We can practice the karma yoga with the detached mind. But I think jnana yoga or epistemology is very much needed in order to become a nishkama karmi spontaneously. Thank you, sir. That is my response.
Well, thank you, Kea.
Thank you.
Well, let's move to Dr. Anup Rai, sir. Anup, sir, are you there? Yes.
I again thank Kea Roy for your beautifully presented paper. Beautiful in the sense that your presentation is so nice. You have a voice of a singer and lucidity of a teacher. And your recitations of the verses, so was really beautiful, as if you are habituated with or regularly you recite the slokas, it appears. Anyway, in your paper, you mainly, of course, very nicely, gave importance on or elaborated unity in diversity and Niskam Karma. A very two important concepts of Vedantic philosophy. But your theme is of your paper is detachment. That needed a bit more elaboration. You were told a lot. You discussed a lot about the concept of detachment. Should have been elaborated, explained a bit more. That's my observation. Otherwise, it's a very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. Well, I have a question for Kea. Well, Kea, can you please tell me, is detachment possible without attachment? Is detachment possible without attachment? How do you see this?
Thank you so much, sir. This is the question which comes when we talk about nishkama karma, that how nishkama karma is possible, because whenever we act, we have always an end in our hand, in our mind. And towards it, in order to get it or in order to refrain from it, we do an action, right? So, sir, first of all, sir, I would like to highlight that nishkama karma, how will we define it? In English, if we try to define it, we say it is detached action. First of all, it is detached action and it is not disinterested action. Okay. What I mean by disinterested action, it is like that I have a lethargy for doing something, that is disinterested action. And when we are coming to detached action, it is something different. We will be working with our full zeal, with our full spirit. But we will not expect the result. And how is it possible? And here Swami Vivekananda is beautifully pointing out that first of all, we have to keep it in our mind that detached action, a detached action does not mean an aimless action. Okay. So it has aim. So the next question comes that if it has an aim, that means it has an interest, it has an end, then how can we say that it is a detached action? Second, now in order to clarify this point, this answer, I would like to point out two concepts from the Upanishad, Katha Upanishad mainly, that is the concept of Shreya and Preya. Preya is the interest, Preya is that action which is not interest, Preya is that action which is motivated by the self-interest. Okay. And Shreya is that action which is motivated by bigger or collective interest. Preya is that which seems good, which seems pleasant to me, but Shreya is that which brings total well-being. In the case of an individual, it brings well-being to the mind and body of the individual. And in the from the perspective of society, Shreya brings the well-being of both individual and the society as well. Well, now when we are talking about detached action, then what what are we eliminating here? We are eliminating the attachment or desires to the result of the action. And what are the results? The results which are mainly centered around our self-interests. Those are the prayers. So detached action, first of all, does not center around prayer or our self-interests, but it has two aims. Detached action has two aims, as Swami Vivekananda is showing. One is Atma Mokshartham, and as well as at the same time Jagat Hitayacham. That is, it is totally centering around Shreya. And when we are coming to the Shreya, there is no point of self-interest only. So, sir, in this sense, it is detached action. And in this sense, a detached action is possible without attachment towards our self-interests. That is it, sir. Hope I could reach your answer.
Well, thank you, Thea. Well, one thing, let me add this. Being in this world, we cannot keep ourselves away from being attached. You see, being in the world, we are attached. We cannot help ourselves. But we have to go on with this attachment, always with a sense of detachment. So we are attached to this world. We cannot keep away from being attached, but we should carry a sense of detachment every way. We should be attached to something, and but there should be always a sense of detachment. That is how we can go. Well, you have nearly come. We have nearly you two said a similar thing. Well, thank you. Well, one more question. Say, as you pointed out that in renunciation we enjoy. Well, we understand this, but I want to know from you how, as you even pointed out, that when we acquire something, we feel like we enjoy it. Something we get, we enjoy. But in the scriptures, in the Upanishad, we find a reverse description that in renunciation we enjoy. So please, how do you see this?
Thank you so much, sir, for such beautiful questions, and these are really enlightening me. Okay, thank you, sir. I will try to give the answer in my way, the way I could understand. So when we say that tena tyaktena bhunjitha, that is enjoy delight through renunciation, right? So we common people, what comes in our mind that I'll become happy or will become happy if I get this or if I get that, but it is saying the totally opposite, that you enjoy delight through renunciation, through detachment, through by giving up the desires. How is it? And the Upanishad is beautifully taking us to the answer. It is showing us in the first of all, in the beginning of the shloka, it is saying that Isha Vasyam Idang Sarvang Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. All this in this universe, whatever moves and whatever does not move, is covered by the same Lord. Next, where is it taking us? It is the Upanishad, like our mother, is holding our hand and is taking us, is pointing towards us that who are you in this universe? What is your position in this universe? It is saying in reply beautifully that Yaha aso saha aham asmi. That is, I am he, the supreme Purusha, the supreme reality underlying everything. I am he. That is, I am not separate from the Brahman. I am the Brahman, Tattvamasi. And Swami Vivekananda is beautifully making us understand this very fact with a beautiful analogy between waves and ocean. He's saying that just like the waves are nothing but the ocean itself, in the same way, you and I, and we all are nothing but the Brahman itself. Now, when one realizes this truth, he understands it is the Brahman, it is the very inner being of me who has become this all, who has become all this whole universe. So the whole universe, the whole world is nothing but my own family. And when one gets elevated by this truth, then then spontaneously he understands that it is possible to enjoy delight through renunciation, through detachment, through sacrifice of our self-interests. Just like a mother, we see that in our day-to-day life, how a mother delights by sacrificing. She is not taking things from her children. That is how she is not happy. She is enjoying more delight, a higher kind of delight, when she is sacrificing for her children. When a lover is sacrificing for his beloved, that time he, through renunciation, through sacrifice, he is enjoying. So through renunciation, we can enjoy delight, but the very sense, the very knowledge we have to acquire. That is all, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you, K.R. Roy, for your level of confidence. I appreciate your confidence, number one. Number two, well, I should like to add here is Jayanti madam, coming to you, the more we renunciate, the more and more we renunciate, the more and more we go away from this unreal changing world, getting closer and closer to that unchanging supreme reality. So this is the beauty in the renunciation. The more you will be renunciating, the more you are going away from this unreal world, getting closer and closer to that unchanging supreme reality. So that is the joy, that is the beauty in the act of renunciation. Thank you so much, Kaya. Well, you have said this well, very nice. Well, over to Jayanti madam. Well, Kaya, you want to say something?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's a good paper, but I have some observation which I want to first thing is concept of detachment. See, this is a very fascinating concept with Buddhism. This word, in fact, started with Buddhism. The desire how to, with attachment, you have to create a state of detachment. And when it comes to Ishopanishad, you have very rightly, with young age, you have understood many concepts very seriously, and I'm happy to see that. But my problem is that if you begin with Isavasya Upanishad, it's a very beautiful Upanishad, thought-provoking, and many life lessons also are giving. The first slok, as you said, that would be that interpretation also, like Isavasyam idam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagatya tena tyaktena bhunjita magridha kasya viddhana. तो उसमें एक चीज सिखाया गया कि एक डिटैचमेंट होता है कि हम जिंदगी भर दूसरे को धन को देखते रहते हैं. This, as you have said, that this world has been created by the God, the Lord, and but the problem with this Upanishad is that they have used the word detachment, probably because detachment word is a very kind of unconvincing. You can say that with the Hindu philosophy, because and also especially when you talk about in relation to Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Gyan Yoga, you implicitly or you can interpret it in a different way, modern way interpretation. But when you come to Upanishad, the emphasis is on Gyan Yoga. And if we relate to Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and other yogas, then probably we could miss the line of attainment of the Brahma realization. That is one way of my understanding, because Upanishad is specifically meant for giving emphasis on the Gyan Yoga and authoritativeness of the scriptures, that Sravan, Manan and Nididhyasan so is on Gyan Yoga. You may say that there is a Niskam Karma Yoga through which you can understand the text. There can be a kind of Bhakti Yoga through which you can understand the significance of Brahma or the self. You can bring all yogas into account, because that is a kind of discipline of the mind and body if you understand yoga. So my problem is that how far the word detachment will be strict sense of the term will go with the Upanishad, because obviously there is a detachment, but not, they're very strict to that detachment to the ignorance or maybe detachment to the material world, as you have said, prayers and shreyas, that prayers is material and shreyas is something which is spiritual. So, but that is what one problem only, because the Buddhism made it very clear that what is detachment they are talking about. But in Hinduism, we have 4 purusharthas like dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. We give equal importance to each concept, that dharma, artha, and moksha, and also kama. And where you see the detachment, that strict sense of the term in Buddhism they use, I do not. I still have a kind of confusion. If you can clear it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, Kheya. Well, we have with us Pramod Das sir to respond to this. Well, Professor Das.
Thank you, Khaya. She's,
Thank you, sir.
she's Lady Arjun because she's in the railway station. She's waiting for her train. So in this situation, she presented her paper like Arjuna in the battlefield. So in the adverse situation, how one presents her paper, that indicates one's capability. We can't do it in the AC room, in a very um, well decorated room with full preparation. That is the point. What is the attitude of a scholar? That in spite of my message in the chat box that I advised her to shift her to talk to the next session, she insisted on uh, presenting her paper very nicely, very aptly. And I do not agree with Jayanti Madam's comment that Upanishad is only knowledge oriented, though it appears to be. Knowledge can't go alone without karma and bhakti. Jnana Karma Bhakti Samuchaya, that is the synthesis of knowledge, action, and devotion. What is said in the Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the outcome of the Upanishads. Just like Upanishad is the cow and Bhagavad Gita is milk. That is the essence of the Upanishads. In the very Upanishad, the first verse is about Jnana Yoga, but the second verse is about Karma Yoga. And she has very clearly mentioned that the second verse is about Karma Yoga only, that how to do your action. So if we have knowledge, for what that knowledge is meant, that should be translated in the art of doing yoga karmesu kausalam, and that should be reflected in our sense of devotion. And the third one is in Upanishads and in Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand the dialectics of attachment and detachment. You cannot have complete attachment, that is a sign of destruction, and complete detachment is useless, because you have to do something for this society, for this mundane world. You can't, your life is not meant for be a sannyasi and you leave this world, go to Himalayas and live a selfish life. No. But you have, without attachment, no action is possible, no feeling is possible, and life is not also possible. Attachment is very much necessary. If a mother does not desire to give a birth, we are not born at all. We are born because of the kamana of the mother. If a mother does not desire, we are not born. So kamana is very much necessary. But that should be pursued through the sense of detachment. This is the dialectics. Similarly, in Karma Yoga, when we are doing an action, definitely I am the agent. But the opposite truth is, I am the agent. I am doing this action, but I have no sense of agency. This is the dialectics. I shall do, I am the agent, but I shall do my action without karta bhava, without the sense of agency. Then only I shall become a complete personality, complete purna bhyaktitva. This is the teaching of Upanishad. Very nicely she presented, and despite the other facts, how she recites, how her voice sounds, these are all her extracurricular activities. But so far as the content of the topic paper is concerned, she did it very well. And so far as the concept of detachment is concerned, not only she explained what is detachment, she beautifully explained the background, the cause, the root of attachment, root of ignorance, and how can we lead to that goal. The ultimate goal is a detachment is nothing but freedom. That is Mukhya, Paramapurusartha. Okay, so that Parama Purusartha is only possible through other Purusartha, Artha, Kama, and Dharma. So empirical pursuit is not totally out whenever we are seeking for the detachment, seeking for the ultimate bliss. So Jnana, Karma, Bhakti, Samuchaya, these three must be practiced by everybody, be a scientist, be a professor, be an engineer, be a common man, be a farmer. Everybody should be qualified with these three principles. Thank you, Khair. But next time, be careful whenever you will be invited to deliver a talk.
She is not there. She has left. She has left. She is catching the
Okay,
train.
okay. Thank you, thank you.
Hello. Hello. Then we have to go for.
Sir,
Hello.
let us move to the next speaker.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we don't have time.
For a confidence in responding the questions and observations made by our learning professor, it reflects our deep understanding and clarity in the theme and the consistency in the presentation. Now we have to move to the next speaker. The next speaker is Ms. Monoshini Patnaik, the lecturer in Logic and Philosophy, Balugan College, for the Odisha. Her topic is environmental ethics and sustainability. She has prepared it under the guidance of Dr. Kavita Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Philosophy, College University. I welcome Mrs. Monoshini Patnaik, lecturer in Logic and Philosophy, Balugan College, to present her paper. Hello, welcome, Monoshini.
Right. Good evening to all. Am I audible and visible clearly?
Yes, clearly.
Dr. Pramod Kumar Das sir, backbone of philosophy family, Dr. K.Om Narayan Rao sir, Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana sir, respected judges, my co-speakers, and dear participants. Let me start my paper. My title of my paper is Environmental Ethics and Sustainable Development. Let me start with a quote. Man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature. Unaware that this nature he is destroying is this God he is worshipping. By Howard Reeves, Canadian French astrophysicist. My paper deals with some key concepts like environmental ethics, sustainable development, environmental sustainability, and environmental education. Environmental issues have become more problematic and challenging all over the world due to industrialization and development, which done massive damage to the environment. It also poses a threat towards the relationship between man and nature. Man, being the most evolved creature of this world, tries to control and master nature by using the most unique capacity, that is reason. Now it is the time to preserve the environment, otherwise the very existence of various species, including human beings, will become highly endangered. So what needs to be done? Environment is the natural home of all things and beings. So in order to be safe and healthy, it is the prime duty of humans to keep the environment safe and clean. Otherwise, nature will directly or indirectly affect human civilization. From the very beginning of human civilization, human beings started to destroy the mother nature continuously by anthropogenic activities without caring for sustainable development as per his own choice to fulfill his selfish desire and to maintain luxurious life, which leads to environmental degradation, and in turn it becomes a basic threat to global living. Nowadays, one can find human footprints in every part of nature. People themselves are destroying the childhood of their children by continuously using the natural resources which are finite and limited. It is the right of every child that he must grow and enjoy his childhood in a healthy environment. But in this present era, it is quite impossible as there is no space which is free from human activity. Again, the most important thing is as nature nurtures, so in turn it must be nurtured. So the present paper discusses about the usefulness of environmental ethics for sustainable development. It also deals with some questions like why there is the need of ethics in the environment. Who is responsible for the damage of the environment? Can environmental ethics really helpful for sustainable development? One cannot deny that the disrespectful attitude of man towards nature and the unnecessary interference of man in nature is the most important cause of environmental degradation. A sustainable way of life aims at creating an environment where the future generation can afford to prosper in the same or more capacity as that of the present generation. It gives emphasis to the development which does not pose any threat to the environment. Whatever environmental degradation occurs in the process of development needs to be within the tolerable limits so that the future generation does not get affected by it. Environment is the natural home for all forms of life, including plants, animals, birds, forests, insects, reptiles, and microorganisms like algae, bacteria, fungus, viruses, etc. It also contains abiotic factors like air, cloud, temperature, water, sunlight, and other chemical factors. Environment performs four types of important functions for the development of human race. They are: first, it provides the both renewable and non-renewable resources, which are necessary for economic growth of the world. Secondly, it absorbs the waste materials produced from different industries, though these are harmful for the environment. Thirdly, it provides biodiversity, which plays a major role for the sustenance of life. It is the most important function of environment, but it fails to do it properly due to different environmental crises arises from excess use of natural resources and improper waste management. Fourth, it provides the natural beauty, that is the aesthetic value, which gives mental peace to human beings. But nature has been used so roughly by people, both educated and uneducated, from the very beginning of Industrial Revolution. The countries which are rich in industrial development have been earning money and profits from people of the earth by using natural resources. So they are very much responsible for the damage of the environment. Now the time has come to realize and rectify the human deeds and also to rethink about the best possible way to protect the nature for the future. And it can be possible only by the help of environmental ethics. Biodiversity and modern age. The relationship between biodiversity and the modern age. Biodiversity is an organic whole or particular habitat which includes different kinds of plant and animal species. It is the basis of human survival and economic development, which plays an important role to maintain ecological balance and sustainable development. It plays a very pivotal role for developing human culture as it contains different types of values like social value, ethical value, aesthetic value, and productive value. Value has given to biodiversity because it helps to know our own identity and also our relationship with other living and non-living beings of the natural world. In social value of biodiversity, many plants of our country like tulsi, peepal, neem, mango, banyan, etc. are considered as the holy and sacred. The fruits, flowers, and leaves of these plants are used in worship. Similarly, birds and animals like Cow, bull, peacock, parrot, owl, snake, etc. are given unique place in our society. The life of tribals, their customs, rituals, traditions are closely connected with nature. They love to live with nature. Ethical value of biodiversity is based on the concept of live and let live. In order to sustain ourselves, we have to preserve others' life, including flora and fauna, as we all belong to the same habitat. In aesthetic value of the biodiversity, people spend time and money to enjoy the beauty of the nature. So they visit to the natural areas where wilderness exists. Many industries and their workers dependent on the productive value of biodiversity. For example, paper industry, dairy farm, plywood industry, textile industry, pawl industry, etc. People collect milk from cow, buffalo, goat, collect silk from silkworm, and by selling them, they earn their livelihood. Thus, men should take care of biodiversity because without conserving the biodiversity and minimizing anthropogenic activities, sustainable development is not possible. Sustainable development is need of the time. This present age is considered as the age of science and technology because nowadays people cannot live without technology. They cannot even think about their daily life without technology. Though it is very much helpful, it saves much more, but it also has some kind of disadvantages which cannot be ignored. People are forgetting about their own nature and culture. They are very much attracted towards material acquisition to get initial name, fame, and to earn money easily. They are adopting shortcut ways, even they are not bothered about the consequences of their action. People are making more and more industries. As a result, they require more land area. They are using new skills and technologies in the industries. As a result, machines are used against men, which creates unemployment. People are working hard to make their career graph high, and so they keep themselves busy in their professional life. Meanwhile, they are not able to take proper care of their children. They are ready to compromise the childhood period of their children. From very initial period, parents engage themselves to skill their children in different online games, video games to make them smarter and also to live without parents. As a result, their children are expert in technology, but physically they are weak and fail to play and enjoy the natural environment. It is the right of the children to grow in a natural and healthy environment, and it is our duty that we must provide them such environment. Now, what is environmental sustainability? It is the foundation of sustainable development. It is defined as the responsible interaction with the environment and to avoid degradation of natural resources and allow for long-term environmental quality. The practice of environmental sustainability helps to ensure that the needs of the today's population are met without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. To achieve sustainable development, people should move from technocentrism to ecocentrism through sustainocentrism. Technocentrism holds that humans are separate from nature and natural resources are there only for the use of human beings. Sustainocentrism holds that humans are superior to other species. Environmental preservation is essential for human survival. So act for the good of humans and non-humans and especially for future generations. Ecocentrism holds that humans are part of and dependent on nature. Nature has its own intrinsic value. It gives priority to preserve the holistic biotic community. Such movement can be possible by environmental education because education is the main pillar of human life and it helps to be virtuous and makes people aware about their social responsibilities. Environmental education is a new concept which came into existence to develop the environment friendly attitude among people and hence it became an essential part of our education system. It creates awareness, develops skills among all stages of people to solve environmental issues and also to create a balanced ecosystem. It generates responsibilities for a sustainable future. So environmental education is the education through the environment, about the environment and for the environment. Now the concluding portion. In the contemporary scenario, people are very much concerned about their own health, but neglect the health of the environment, which is the major cause of environmental degradation. The protection of the environment should be started at the individual level. Our motive should be think globally but act locally. Each and every person should try to live in a healthy environment, which in turn will help to protect the environment, which will help to reach at global through local. Skill is required to know the importance of nature and also to learn how to nurture our mother nature, because this is the time when nature bounces back to humans. To solve the current environmental problems that the world is facing today can be handled only by the proper understanding of environmental ethics. The scientific and technological developments, the governmental policies, or legal restrictions alone are not capable to solve the environmental issues. People should try to change their mindset and attitude towards nature. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Manaswini Patnaik, for your very clear presentation, and you have made a very conceptual clarification of all the issues related to environmental ethics and sustainability. And first, you have made it very clear that nature nurtures human beings, so it has to be nurtured by the human beings. And you have made it clear that sustainable development is the need of the future. So, sustainable development aims at creating an environment which will not affect the future generation. And you have also pointed out the natural resources that is which has to be managed by the people, and you have challenged for rethinking for protecting the nature, because the existing natural resources are becoming degraded by human beings. You have focused on protecting, developing, and taking care of biodiversity of nature. You have thought that how people forget the nature, culture, and education, and they are going on they are going on destroying the environment and polluting the environment. You have reflected upon so many things that is not possible to reflect due to the paucity of time. And at last, you have a concern to move from the technocentrism to ecocentrism, which is the modern approach, which is the need of the hour. Thanks so much, Manaswini, for a beautiful presentation and for your comprehensive analysis of all the things comes under environmental ethics and which is the time, which the need of the time. Now, I would like to request Professor Pramod Kumar Das to carry on the interactive session. Over to Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Marana. Well, I should thank Manaswini Patnaik for a very precise and clear lecture. Well, the entire lecture stands on the very first proposition that she asserted, that we worship an invisible God, but we destroy the visible nature. That's the problem that we are having today. Well, we have it as well. I don't think Kailash Das sir is there. He has left probably. So let us move to Anup Rai sir. Well, your observations and comments, sir. Dr. Roy. Dr. Anup Rai.
Thank you, Manaswini, for your nice paper. I should say, it is specific, pointed, and clear. That way, you should be congratulated for the nice paper you have presented, and you have covered all the sides, all the aspects of environmental ethics which are necessary for your topic very nicely. I don't have any suggestions. Thank you and wish you the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Well, one thing, as you have clearly pointed out, your concern is most on the sustainable development and having a sustainable life. So your concern is both nature and the existence of different life forms on this planet. Your concern is that we have done a lot of injustice towards this planet, and it is time that we should all learn from our mistakes and we should come together and join hands so that this planet can exist in order to make our existence possible. Otherwise, our own existence is under danger. Where very nicely towards the end you have said that we are concerned about our own health, but we are not concerned about the nature's health. So the problem, the paradox is, the man has now started realizing that his own health much depends on the wellness and the good health of nature. If the health of the nature is going worse day by day, how can we think of a good health for the human beings? So that's a great thing to think of. That's why we are all, that's why Manaswini also pointed out that it is time that we should lead a sustainable life, so that well, we have to look at nature for various needs, but the element of sustainability should hang in our mind. Well, pointing in technologies aside, well, there should be a move towards ecocentrism and all. Well, that is there, but we are onto a age where we cannot even avoid technology. Well, I remember the interaction with the students, say the special session last month, where Kailash Das sir pointed out that we need a technology, but we need an ethics of technology. We need how this technology has to be applied, how it is to be used. I remember, well, a small instance to suggest, Manaswini, that we need mobile. Well, this is the need of the day. Well, we cannot go, we cannot live without. Okay, so you see, the operators, in order to have less number of towers, they increase the frequencies of the tower. Had there been more towers, they could have reduced the frequency. But what they do, in order to have less number of towers installed, they increase the frequency levels, thereby disturbing the movement of various kinds of birds and bringing about their day. So that's the problem. We need a technology, but we cannot go without a technology. But that technology should not harm others, any creature, any life form. And you have pointed out on biodiversity. Well, without biodiversity, our existence becomes very difficult. So these are the questions that Manaswini has raised. And again, she said one more thing. Let me add to her that we clean our houses. We try to keep our houses clean. But when it comes to nature, the world, the earth, it is our natural home. But we do not think while making it unclean, making it unsafe, making it unsafe. So that's again a problem. It is our natural home. It's our shelter. Without nature, without earth, we are nowhere. But we make it unclean. Can we think of making our own homes unclean? So when it comes to small, limitized structures, we think of making it clean. When it comes to everybody's home, we neglect. There the problem lies. And there is a need of a transformation in the mindset that we should think that earth is the natural home. We have a responsibility to keep it as safe, okay, as possible, as clean as possible, so that we can live healthily for a long time. And that is all sustainability is all about. Well, thank you so much, Manaswini, for a very clear paper. Thank you so much. Well, I don't have any specific questions because your paper is so clear. Well, we have it as many people. Well, anybody? Well, Jayanti madam is there. Well, Jayanti madam. Yes. Madam. Jayanti madam.
I agree, sir. I agree with you. The point which you lastly mentioned, that very clearly, that when it comes to our home, we take care of that. But when it comes to nature or outside our house, we don't take care of that. And so much of responsibility and commitment is needed for that reason. And so it's a very clear paper. She has already brought out the problems and she has responded to the problems. But then we have always the problem is that the anthropocentric approach. And if unless and until we take care of the nature and worship nature and made it something sustainable for everybody, it's whether it is animal, whether it is plants and everybody, then the things will not change. And for that reason, the technology, we should know, as you have already, the Professor Narayan Rao also said, that ethics of technology, I'll also go with Heideggerian views, that essence of the technology, that use of the technology, what we should need and what we should not need. So it is the ethics of the technology much more important, and the responsibility of each and every individual should be taken into account. So extreme form of subjectivism also needed in order to bring a change within the objective atmosphere. So we have to have some kind of stuff for the what you can say is a kind of anthropocentric model. If we go by Marxian model of man controls the nature and transform the nature, so then we cannot uh, talk about the environment, conservation of environment, or we cannot protect. And to protect everything, so we need to have a sense of responsibility, ethical responsibility and commitment, which again I will say that it is there within the Indian philosophical traditions, very clearly mentioned in the Vedas, what needs to be done. So that is a good paper, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jayanti madam. Well, anybody who wants to add to this, or anybody just well, let us move to our admin, Pramod Das sir. Well, nobody is responding, but we have with us our admin, Professor Das. Well, sir, your observations.
Manaswini madam, really it is a very good paper, and you presented very well, and you are very well guided by your guide, Dr. Kavita madam. That is wonderful. One thing I appreciated very much, which is not generally discussed, anthropocentrism, cosmocentrism, these things are discussed everywhere. One thing that appealed to me, that you said that sanskara, or that begins from childhood. So there is a question of parenting. So parents, they should take care of children from the beginning. That yes, there is the need of technology, but one should not be technocentric. One should not be techno addicted. That is a very good point, and that should be culture from the very childhood. Because when that child is grown up, he becomes addicted to technology, and that is a great threat to nature. So I really enjoyed your topic, and this is such a presentation which does not invite any question. So that indicates the beauty of a presentation. Thank you, Manaswini madam.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you, Professor Das, and also thank Manaswini madam for a clear paper. Well, let's move to Kailash sir for inviting the next participant.
The environmental degradation and marginalization of women, a South Asian perspective, the very good topic. And may I now request Mr. Surojit Das to...
Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Okay, to commence your speech. Okay, welcome, Mr. Surojit.
Thank you, sir. First of all, good evening to all the participants of Philosophy Family and Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana, who chaired this session. Sir, may I start?
Start.
Today I am going to present a paper, and the title of my paper is Environmental Degradation and Marginalization of Women, a South Asian Perspective. Introduction. Nowadays, environmental degradation and marginalization of women is a great challenging issue, not only in India, but also to all South Asian countries. And it is the key feature of ecofeminist discussion. The term ecofeminism was coined by the French feminist Francoise d'Eubonne in 1974 in order to represent women's potential for bringing about an ecological revolution. Ecofeminism holds that the domination of women and the domination of nature are closely associated. It also holds that patriarchy is the base of the domination of both women and nature. The aim of ecofeminism is to liberate both women and nature from the clutches of patriarchy. Patriarchal domination over both women and nature has become the outcome in the oppression of women and the destruction of nature. Hence, in order to challenge the exploitation of women and the destruction of nature, ecofeminists jumped on the abolition of patriarchal form of domination from the society. In the early period of ecofeminism, celebrated women's emotional connection with the earth, forgets through her biological functions, characterizing it as distinct to the reason-dominated approach associated with men, empiricism, and power. In the latter periods, led by the works of Bandana Shiva, a Southern woman perspective of ecofeminism evolved, linking experiences of colonialism and Western development to women's special relationship with the earth. The present paper thus is an attempt to explore how the destruction of nature connected to the marginalization of women within South Asian rural communities. And in the concluding section, I would like to recommend an ecofeministic solution to all these environmental problems. I have divided my paper into 4 sections. Section 1, the role of women. It is difficult to talk about women as a whole without ignoring the vast economic, cultural, and social differences between them. Even if we were to consider only third world women, the lives of women in South Asia are different from those of African and Latin American. Similar gaps in income and culture exist. There are some crucial areas where women work to keep family and rural economy alive. These are number one, survival tasks. Survival tasks constitute those essential for daily life for which women are primarily responsible. They grow food crops, provide water, gather fuel, and perform most of the works which sustain the family. Number two, household tasks. The activities of the home are exclusively the responsibility of women with older children occasionally assisting. The daily tasks including food
Sorry for
preparation.
interruption. Please switch on your video.
Okay. Am I visible?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. The daily tasks including food preparation, cleaning and washing absorb long hours of work daily. Number three, income generating tasks. In South Asia, women contribute substantially to the family budget through income generating activities like food processing, trading of agricultural products, and handicrafts production. Women thus fulfill a great number of essential tasks, yet they and their labor go unrewarded. Section 2, impacts of environmental degradation on women. In the recent decades, two distinct but interactive processes have severely affected the South Asian rural environment. One is the depletion of its natural resource base, and other is the increasing appropriation of what is available for the benefits of a few. The problem, challenges, and issues seeking women assistance are multifaceted, from deforestation, land degradation, flood, drought, pollution, burgeoning population, poverty, loss of biodiversity, adverse climate change, and so on. And impacts of this environmental degradation on South Asian women are as follows. Number one, on economics of women. The decline of forests has reduced women's income from gathered items, water, fuel, fodder, building materials, and even food to a certain extent are all gathered freely from the indigenous forest. And these raw materials are the biggest source of their employment. Number two, nutritional implications for women. Studies in several parts of India reveal a gender bias in access to food within the family, overwork, and inadequate food. The energy output of women is not compensated by proportionate intake of food and the ratio of intra-household male-female food distribution was 2:1. While women produce the food, the men and the boys are served first and provided with the most nutritious food. Women, on the other hand, in many cultures, are the last to eat in the family. Number 3, health. Nutritional deficiencies have direct health consequences. In addition, because of the nature of task proper, women perform fetching drinking water, washing clothes in streams, and transplanting rice. They are more directly exposed than are men to waterborne diseases and to the pollutions of rivers and ponds with fertilizers and pesticides runoff. On time. Number 4, on time. Since it is the women and the female children who mainly collect fuel, firewood, fodder, it is their time and energy which gets extended when forests are declined. In many areas, distances traveled and time taken for this task has increased manifold. For instance, a round trek of 6 to 7 kilometers may yield firewood only for their one day's cooking. Number 5, on women's indigenous knowledge. Food and medicinal items from forest demand an elaborate knowledge of the plant species, which these women have gained through their long experiences. Also, in many regions, peasant women mainly responsible for indigenous seed selection are poor. With the large-scale shift to hybrid seed, control has passed into the hands of national and international laboratories. While traditional systems are being devalued, the women who depend on this knowledge have little institutions with which create what is seen as knowledge and modern technology. Section 3, impacts of westernization on women. South Asian women are being victimized more and more by Western development, particularly by the Green Revolution technology. The Green Revolution technology was propounded by Dr. Norman Borlaug. It was a large increased process in crop production in developing countries, achieved by the use of artificial fertilizers, pesticides, and high-yielding seed varieties. Actually, it was a science-based Western agricultural research which pretends to give us more food, but is actually destroying our nature. In her book Staying Alive, Women, Ecology and Survival in India, Vandana Shiva regards this type of development as maldevelopment. The maldevelopment argument is that westernization actually decreases the quality of life for women in the third world countries. Traditional agricultural methods are abandoned. Cash crops, which depleted the delicate ecosystems, are substituted for subsistence crops, and natural resources are taken or destroyed. Men must move to the cities to obtain jobs, but it is the women who are now left alone to work longer and harder to acquire less food and needs for their children. As in the case of Somalia, the end result is mass starvation. This vision sees women as worldwide victims of oppression, fighting for their very lives and lives for their children. In this way, Western development and oppressive economic measures deprive women of their traditional land use rights and break the living relationship between women and nature. Last, section 4, concluding remarks. We can easily solve the present environmental problems through the application of ecofeminist philosophy. For example, the effectiveness of such local grassroots ecofeminist activism is probably illustrated best by the Indian women's movement, which is known as the Chipko movement. In Chipko, women have successfully organized to protect the indigenous forests on which they depend upon for food, fuel, water, soil stability, climate control, and many other important necessities of daily life. Similar ecofeminist activism was also found in Kenya in 1977, which was known as the Green Belt Movement. It was a non-governmental organization which encouraged women to plant trees in order to combat deforestation and environmental degradation. These examples prove that women have empowered by the knowledge of ecological relationships on which can be used, ecological relationships which can be used to end specific forms of oppression or domination involving in between women and nature. Ecofeminism is therefore a movement which tries to manifest a holistic approach to empowering women, protecting the earth, and promoting sustainable development and environmentally rooted social justice to all human beings. That's all, and thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks so much, Mr. Surajit Das, for your very clear and short presentation. And you have also given justice to time. And your paper, The Environmental Degradation and Marginalization Movement, particularly the South Asian perspective, has given a new understanding to think of the South Asian women, and you have focused on the problem of the South Asian women, and you have shown how the degradation of environment affects the health, socio-economic condition, not just a which is a problem for South Asian women. And you have also said that how South Asian women are victimized by green revolution and technology. And at last, you have shown the application of ecofeminism activism for the better cause of the environment, and which is a new approach taken by the South Asian women. Thanks so much for your very beautiful paper. Now, I would like to request Professor Dr. K. Om Naran Rao to carry on the interactive session. Over to Dr. Rao.
Namaskar, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Maharana. Well, I should thank Surajit Das for his clear presentation. Nicely done. Well, we have with us Dr. Kailash Chandra Das sir, Dr. Anup Rai, and others. Well, at first I would like to request Dr. Kailash Das sir to have his observations. Dr. Kailash Das sir.
I must congratulate that this is a very balanced paper, but I have some queries that specifically you have taken into consideration women of one region, the South Asian region, but the fate of women all over the world before 200 or 300 years ago was almost same. And you signed out the book on women's suffrage in 300 years, and they have been victims of patriarchy, and they have been the victims of a devaluation all down the ages in every culture. There is not an exception. So this is what happens to all over them. And if you imagine the history of America also, they are not given that much liberty to their women 200-300 years ago. The most civilized countries today you see have not also done like this. Rather, you find long ago in Vedantin schools, they have again some kind of there is some kind of society which was women were very much emancipated and so my question is precise. It's not a question exactly. It's why you have confined to South Asian women and why not women in general? Thank you.
Sir, there is a clear distinction between South Asian women and Latin American women. Ecofeminism, as explained in the West, has been critiqued for homogenizing women by not considering issues like class and resource content among women. It assumes that all women have the same relationship with the earth. And it seems not to make a sufficient distinction between the urban women who may be driven by consumerist ethics and rural women who can easily identify with nature. But Indian ecofeminism or the South Asian ecofeminism makes a departure from this homogenization by importance a group of rural women and focusing on their basic needs. There is the basic difference.
Right. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Sir, any comment, any recommendation to improve this paper for publication? Any recommendation from?
We are moving with that. We are moving with that. Okay. Now, may I request Dr. Anup Rai, sir? Anup Rai, sir, whether he's here? Yes.
Sujit, actually I don't have any recommendation as for now, but it's a really a good paper. I appreciated it, and I think you will, if you go on working on this field, you can do better and better in future. Wish
Thank
you
you.
see you again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Roy. Well, one thing that comes to my mind, as Dr. Kailash Das sir has rightly pointed out, why just why just South Asian or women? Why not women throughout the world? You find a problem that wherever you go, that women are treated the way they are treated, largely because they are women. Not because of their attitudes, not because of their outlook, not because of their responses. People simply sideline this. Because she is a woman, a treatment is somewhat different. So that makes one point to look into for structurally constructing a moral theory as to what can be done. Well, we have taken very rightly Vandana Shiva that marginalization of women goes parallel with, the environmental degradation. That's how the question of ecofeminism comes to the defense of both the woman and also nature. So, we have tried to make it a point that under the patriarchal domination, okay, the privileges that men enjoy, that those privileges are not are being not enjoyed by the women. So, it's a good attempt, and I think, I don't know whether you have gone through Vandana Shiva's works, and yeah, as you pointed out, you have gone through. Well, I think I have, I think a bit of more of say, because you are given only less time, 15 minutes time, and I think you can do still more better as to how the violence towards, how can a parallel be drawn between the violence towards nature, okay, is similar to the violence towards women. How is this that the use of chemicals, the use of say excess agricultural activities, okay, so our sense of treatment towards nature has a similar parallel towards women. So you try to find out the similarities between the treatment to women on one hand and the treatment to nature, and try to bring in ecofeminism and defense to make the lives of women better, and that's how you can improve yourself, I think. Well, Surajit, well.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. Well, we have with us our admin. We have with us Jayanti madam. Well, let me request Jayanti madam if she has to say something on this issue. Namaskar, madam. Yes.
Namaskar, sir. Actually, this paper is a very good paper. I just try to understand him that what he is bringing about women empowerment and trying to relate it with the nature. Sometimes it is very kind of what he is pointing out is a very true. Actually, this is a fact that because of so many reasons already he has pointed out. I do not have any kind of comments on this because he has already brought out so many issues, how patriarchy, how other things are there, and because of which the kind of marginalization has taken place amongst the women also, and how things can be better also he has suggested. So this is a good paper, but I think that something can be also, he can also take into the Indian scenario village, and something he can take into the consideration about like ancient Indian text to make it a more, not more a kind of one-sided view, but a kind of holistic approach, how things can be better, and not in a kind of one perspective, but multiple perspectives. If we can work on and maybe a kind of better suggestive model rather than one ideological perspective. If you see the problem, then many times the problems are not resolved. So in order to bring a kind of equality in both the sphere, then I always feel that there should be a holistic approach, and that will be possible if you take the spiritual model of Indian philosophy. That is what I have to say. Otherwise, it's a good paper, well thought out.
Okay, ma'am, I will remind it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jayanti madam. Well, one thing again comes to my mind, Surajit. Well, you have very nicely pointed out that the acts of women go unrewarded. You see, a lot of emotion is involved, a lot of acts are involved. She is concerned about the home from the morning till the night. She is the one who wakes up early and goes late in the night. And the same case, she has just a lot of activities. So is nature with lot of things to offer to us. So that parallel also you can bring in. Okay, see, even nature has a lot to offer to us, but we are cruel towards nature. The way we are cruel to the woman. Say we go even every act of woman. Okay, in the household, everything is free, but still she is the one to be given a lower scale. Well, even Shravani Misra points out in the chat box, it is all patriarchal domination that is bringing about a lot of problems to the woman. The way we are treating the nature, the similar treatment is there towards the woman, even within our households. So that's a great matter of concern. Well, we have with us
So
our.
I just would like to add something here.
Yes, madam, welcome.
Like if we see our ancient culture and tradition, there was a kind of equality, like acceptance, and it was a kind of the marginalized was not there, but rather acceptance, respect, and a kind of equality was there within the Vedic feminism. If you also see that, and then we talk about Siva Sakti, then Ram, Sita, so many examples are there, but that is a kind of, if we bring, that is maybe an idealistic framework, but if you work on the realistic framework also, it was never like that situation which we are facing now. It was recognized, some way it was recognized, the Sakti, the power of the woman was recognized. But in the contemporary and from the beginning, patriarchy was there, but that is a kind of ego and the power of the people, right? Not the theory says that, but in a practice you find the many things are distorted and contradicted, and so the practice needs to be changed, and the society will develop, and we can talk about the relational wealth only when there is a kind of equality, respect, and the trust factor to each other. Like, then things will be changed. Otherwise, we can only talk and nothing can be worked out. So now the situation is very contemporary situation, that the people feel that women are talking about feminist rights and only rights, not duty. But that is not true. The situation are very worse. Sometimes domestic violence, as you said, that she is the only one. She is always treated as an object, not a kind of subject or a self-conscious being. But our tradition teaches that there is no gender distinction and all are equal. And that is, in fact, no gender. So self works within both the sphere. But unless and until you treat women as a subject, as a self-conscious, rational being, and can do and can think about what you can do, then society is not going to change. So that is what we have to see, that respect and faith from both sides. So that is what my suggestion is.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So Jayanti madam has a very nice thing to say. It's respect and reciprocation for either sexes That is the need of the day. Well, we have with us our admin, Professor Pramod Kumar Das. Well, sir, your observations.
Yes, I have no comment. Just I shall suggest that that Surajit Das sir, you just follow the suggestions of the judges and Jayanti madam, Dr. Rao, and you develop your paper for publication. Okay, and I shall request all to make your observation very brief, very pinpointed, so that we can cover all sessions. Okay. So now we shall give a chance to Khaya Roy. If it is possible, she can present. Otherwise, she will be shifted to the next session.
Kaya, are you present? Kaya? Miss Kaya, right?
Yes, sir, am I audible?
It's audible, but it's not clear. Okay, please.
Sir, am I audible right now?
Yes, hi, sir. Our admin, Professor Pramod Kumar Das. All the participants have tried to limit their paper within the time, and I thought actually all of them have given their obligation and justice to the time. So today, the 4 participants, Professor, four participants, Miss Khya Rai, Mr. Surojit Das, Miss Manosni Patnaik, and Mr. Chotan Das, they have all given justice to the time, and Miss Khya Rai, Mr. Surojit Das, Miss Manosni Patnaik, they have presented their paper very nicely, and they have also responded to the questions and observation made by our learned professors. And today we have a very good session, and Professor Pramod Kumar Das has also given some advice to Mr. Chotan Das, because he is a PG student, and he has tried to present his thought, and he has tried to give clarity in thinking and understanding and in presenting the paper. And this is a platform of learning. This is a platform of knowing something and to learn from the senior professors. So it will be a lesson for Mr. Chotan Das to learn more and more and to modify his paper and to try to know how to present paper. But actually his paper was also a very good paper, and his topic, human values and professional ethics, is also a very good paper, and it has to be extended as per the suggestions of so many professors. And today I don't have the words how to propose my vote of thanks to Professor Jayanti Priyadarshini Sahu from JNU, New Delhi. And she goes and participating in all the webinars of Philosophy Family, and her suggestions and observations in Philosophy Family are very praiseworthy, and they are motivating and inspiring to all the participants and to the viewers. The viewers and participants, they are learning so many things from Professor Jayanti's observation and inspiring thought. So on behalf of Philosophy Family, I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor Jayanti Priyadarshini Sahu of Delhi University for presence and for observation with all the participants. I extend my thanks to Professor Kailash Chandra Das sir, the esteemed judge and the senior professor of Odisha. He has given his observation, he has inspired the participants, and has also motivated the viewers that present now. And Professor Anup sir is very student friendly. He always congratulates and encourages the participants who are presenting their paper in Philosophy Family. And today he has encouraged all the participants to extend their paper and to add some new things in their papers in order to make it enriched from different point of view. And Professor Pramod Kumar Das has given this his harmony. He tries to invite the learning students, research scholars, and teachers to come forward to philosophy family to have their philosophical reflection, and so that it will motivate all the students and teachers of our country and abroad, so that they will be highlighted, their knowledge will be popularized, and they can give an opportunity in future programs and future events. So thanks so much, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, for the beautiful observation, for your encouraging words, and for the inspiring observation for the participants and for all the viewers. Professor Dr. K. Omran Rao, while moderating the sessions, he always gives advice to the participant, and his philosophical deliberation and his philosophical reflections are generally motivates us. So I don't find in words how to propose vote of thanks and how to extend my warm feelings for Professor Dr. K. Omnan Rao. And I don't forget the name of Savani Mr. Madam, who always attends the academic programs of philosophy family, and she never forgets to give her own observation on the chat box, and it also inspires us, motivates us, and it also inspires our viewers to have their own feeling, own observation, and own queries on the chat box, so that it will be an motivational words for all. So again, I have not taken the names of so many viewers who are present in the philosophy platform in the philosophy family. I extend my warm feelings and best wishes and gratitude to all the viewers present today, and I request all the viewers to have their presence in future events to make the academic programs of philosophy family very that is so that the philosophy family will be able to provide much academic programs in future. So with this, I extend my gratitude to all the speakers, to all the organizers, to all the esteemed judges and viewers present today. Have a meaningful evening. Okay. Now over to Professor Pramod Kumar.
Dr. Maharana,
Oh, okay.
and really it is wonderful to hear your observation after the deliberation of the students and participants. Beautifully,
Thanks.
beautifully you do that. Okay,
Thanks so much.
thank you, sir. With this, the meeting is declared closed. Thank you.